William Edward Billy Singh was an Australian sniper whose deadly accuracy made him one of the most lethal and effective marksmen of the First World War. Born on March 3, 1886 in Queensland, Singh was the son of a Chinese immigrant father who had arrived in Australia during the gold rush era of the 1850s, while his mother was a nurse of English descent. As one of 3 children, he would grow up in and around the rural town of Claremont, where daily life was often tough. From a young age, he displayed remarkable talent as a horse rider, and was known by many locals for his exceptional skill with a rifle, excelling as both a hunter and competitive target shooter. On October 24, 1914, 2 months after the outbreak of World War I, Singh enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at the age of 28. Despite the racial policies of the time that typically excluded individuals of non-European ancestry from service, a recruitment officer chose to overlook Singh's part Chinese heritage, enabling him to serve. With this, he was assigned to the 5th Light Horse Regiment and was sent to Egypt for further training. By May of 1915, Singh's regiment was deployed to the front lines of the Gallipoli Peninsula. Partnered with a spotter and armed with a .303 Lee Enfield rifle, he quickly began to implement his deadly trade. Initially stationed at an area known as Chapman's Post, he would take up his position before dawn, remaining completely motionless and silent for hours, until Turkish forces wandered into his line of sight. Contrary to his lethal reputation, Singh was also known for exercising restraint, refraining from targeting stretcher bearers and those attempting to rescue the wounded. By the end of his time at Gallipoli, Singh had been credited with 150 confirmed kills, though other accounts, including a commendation by General William Birdwood, suggested that his tally may have exceeded 200. His reputation quickly earned him various nicknames amongst the Anzacs in the trenches, including being dubbed the Assassin and the Anzac Angel of Death. Though with his notoriety also came increasing danger. In response to their heavy losses, Turkish forces would deploy their most skilled marksmen, hoping to eliminate Singh, a sniper nicknamed Abdul the Terrible. Over several days, Singh is said to have engaged in a tense standoff with Abdul. Using his sharp instincts and skill, Singh was ultimately able to prevail in killing his rival, with word of the duel quickly spreading through the trenches, only adding to his growing legend among the Anzacs. He would later be awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal for his extraordinary courage and effectiveness at Gallipoli, with his citation reading the following: "For conspicuous gallantry, from May to September 1915, at Anzac, as a sniper, his courage and skill were most marked, and he was responsible for a very large number of casualties among the enemy, no risk being too great for him to take." In July of 1916, he was reassigned to the 31st Battalion, and soon departed for England. By January of 1917, he had joined the brutal fighting on the Western Front. Throughout his time on the front lines, Singh would continue to serve with distinction, being mentioned in dispatches on numerous occasions. Of the several times he would be wounded in action, shrapnel injuries to the leg would see him hospitalised in March of 1917. While recovering in Scotland, Singh would meet a waitress named Elizabeth Stewart, whom he would marry in Edinburgh in June of the same year. After only 1 month as man and wife, he would next return to the trenches in France. In September of 1917, during the Battle of Polygon Wood, Singh would lead a series of successful counter-sniping operations, an action that saw him awarded the Belgian Croix de Guerre Medal. In mid-February of 1918, he would be hospitalised once again, this time with a gunshot wound to the back. He had also begun showing signs of chronic lung disease due to prolonged exposure to gas. These ongoing and severe health issues would mark the end of his military career. He would return home in November of 1918, receiving a hero's welcome upon his arrival, with townspeople gathering to celebrate his remarkable exploits. However, the years that followed would be far from easy. He is said to have struggled to adjust back to civilian life, and the lingering effects of his wartime injuries and illnesses would continue to follow him for the rest of his days. Despite his best efforts, subsequent ventures into farming and gold mining ultimately proved unprofitable, only adding to his challenges in post-war life. By 1942, Singh was living in a boarding house in Brisbane's West End, battling declining health and financial hardship. On May 19, 1943, he would pass away at the age of 57. His death would receive little public attention, with only a brief mention in the local newspaper. He would be buried at Lutwyche Cemetery in Brisbane, where his legacy laid largely forgotten for decades. In the 1990s, renewed efforts by local journalists and the Return Services League reignited interest in Singh's story, leading to the creation of a number of memorials in honour of his wartime contributions. An updated plaque on his grave now bears the following epitaph: "His incredible accuracy contributed greatly to the preservation of the lives of those with whom he served, during a war always remembered for countless acts of valour and tragic carnage."